As time goes on, it's looking more and more likely that Kassandra will be featuring in Valhalla's upcoming DLC. In fact, Peta has found a lot more info in the game files, including new dialogue between Kassandra and Eivor on the Isle of Skye, which I think you're going to be really interested to hear what they have to say. Of course, though, this is all very speculative at this stage and it hasn't been confirmed yet, so very big spoiler warning ahead, folks. But saying that, it really is good fun to have a chat with you with this kind of stuff, particularly this topic, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. So thanks again, Peta, and let's get going. First up, if you aren't aware of the Kassandra rumours floating around at the moment, Jonathan actually put together a great video on Kassandra meeting Eivor on the Isle of Skye, which is actually an island located off the west coast of Scotland. Now, Jonathan went on to show some awesome bits of dialogue from the game files between Eivor and Kassandra, which Access the Animus and Billy at BPR Gaming also made great videos on, so adding to that Kassandra conversation. I've of course put all of their videos in the description down below, and I'd encourage you to check them out because if you haven't already, they're well worth your time. With that being said though, Peta has actually found more dialogue between Kassandra and Eivor, which I think really does put forward a robust case for her appearing in the next DLC. Now you might be wondering how on earth Kassandra has managed to live this long, or certainly make her way into Eivor's universe, especially as her storyline actually begins in ancient Greece. Well, if you haven't played Odyssey, she's actually taken hold of the Staff of Hermes, which is an Isu artifact. This subsequently grants her immortality until she actually passes across to Layla Hassan, our modern day protagonist. That means Kassandra has actually lived for over 2,000 years and through the whole Valhalla time period, meaning that this crossover of AC titles is legitimately possible. So what we know so far from Jonathan is a seer called Edith from the Isle of Skye visits Ravensthorpe and speaks to Valka, who in turn informs Eivor of a problem occurring on the Isle of Skye, where the inhabitants can't sleep and they're actually having reoccurring nightmares. So Eivor then sets off to try and help the locals out with this issue, warned though by Valka that the actual cause of these issues may in fact be because of Randvi. Now by the looks of things, Eivor just kind of shrugs this off and ventures all the way up to Skye, which is when she meets Kassandra and asks her why this artifact is suddenly causing problems now, particularly if it's been here for so long, which is when Kassandra says that she doesn't actually really know, only perhaps that someone may have tampered with it, or if it's actually because her presence there is the reason why it is actually causing everyone issues. So I reckon this is a straight up reference to an Apple of Eden, not just because of the dialogue there, but also because Peta has found reference to an Apple of Eden on Skye. So another big mic drop from the man himself there. In fact, I actually think this whole encounter will be similar to that of the Vinland arc, where another Apple of Eden was involved in the story, and I feel it's going to be more of a kind of chapter within the bigger story of this next DLC, and I do think it's going to play a big role, but it certainly won't be the whole shebang, if you know what I mean. With that being said though, it also doesn't seem that Kassandra and Eivor are actually alone on Skye. We of course know there's local inhabitants and villages there, but Kassandra goes on to say that she's torn masks from the face of cultists, and she wouldn't be on Skye if it wasn't for them. Now what's even more interesting about this is that Eivor comments on the face masks being unique, and that it seemed like one of the cultist enemies were actually talking directly to Kassandra in one of the fights. Eivor also then goes on to say, quite angrily, that the cultists seemed to know Kassandra and that they were speaking her language, which we can assume is Greek, which then gets me thinking, is this the Order of the Ancients from the Odyssey DLC, the legacy of the First Blade, and are they actually trying to get hold of this Apple of Eden before Kassandra does? Eivor even then goes on to say to Kassandra, these aren't coincidences, and I completely agree. Now Darkstrider, YouTube Assassin, if you're watching this mate, I think you may be interested in this one, and the reason I say that is I reckon we may have more Odin runes on our hands here, and that's because Kassandra says to Eivor that with your big success with the rock so far, why don't you guide us? And then following that up, Eivor then goes on to point out something which actually Kassandra comments that she can't see, to which Eivor responds that of course you don't see it, you're completely missing Odin's sight after all, which I think takes Kassandra aback a little bit, because Kassandra then asks Eivor curiously who her father may be, to which then Eivor just shrugs off. Now this is just so great, and I think this is the content we've been missing. It's so interesting, and I genuinely do hope this kind of stuff hits the game, because I really feel that this type of dialogue and mental gymnastics is the stuff that we've been missing in the last two DLCs. And I say this pretty gleefully, but it doesn't stop there, because Kassandra goes on to say that there are 5 triangles and 1 pyramid, where we need 5 shards, which are keys, to place on the pedestal to open it up. And there isn't any reference to what that may be, by the way. But more speculation, you guys know I love a bit of speculation, but could this be a smaller version of the Isu pyramid in Odyssey? Now that was originally made by the Isu as a device capable of computing possible futures, or perhaps these are just kind of keys to then gain access to this Isu tomb where an Apple of Eden is currently stationed. Now, I'm really keen to hear what you make of this in particular. Let me know your thoughts down below. And also, if you have found this video interesting so far, a quick like only takes a moment of your time. It's a great way to show your support for the channel, and it genuinely helps me out a ton, so thank you very much. Now, I've already said it doesn't stop there once, but I'm gonna say it again, it doesn't stop there. We've also got more interesting dialogue lines here courtesy of Peda, which I think you're gonna like, and Kassandra goes on to say that this artifact is an object of great power left here by old gods, and it could wreak havoc on the world. Now, Eivor subsequently follows this up with a comment which says, Loki got bored, ? And which I really don't know what to make of this. It sounds fantastic, and I want more answers, damn it. But saying that though, Peda has also found Kassandra's hair modelled in the Valhalla game files. It isn't named as Randvi's, by the way. It's specifically Kassandra's. And you may also remember that he actually rustled up the Adrestia Longship scheme at the start of the year. So perhaps we pick up this ship scheme after Kassandra then sails away with this Apple of Eden that she's collected from the tomb. And I'm just assuming, just like Vinland, Eivor has no interest in actually keeping this thing. Again, speculation, but I think that would probably make sense to me. Now, Jawraptor also recently mentioned in his Odyssey update video that Melisanthe Malut, the voice actress of Kassandra, put up a limited time story on Instagram saying that she's back in the studio. On the off chance that you haven't watched that video, I've of course popped it down below in the description. Definitely worth your time, check it out. But of course, Melisanthe did not mention what she was working on, but for me, I think that increases the credibility that Kassandra will be appearing in the next DLC. Of course, if I get a whiff of any new info, you'll be the first to know, so it may be worth clicking that notification bell so you can find your way back easily. Thanks again to Peda, great work again here, dude. Lots of stuff to mull over and talk about. But I also want to say a big thank you to our awesome Discord community champions, Nord, Voynich, Alves, Dennis, History Code, Ibsarp, and Incognito for boosting our community server. You absolute legends. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, folks, and as usual, coffee's on me.